Welcome to Fast Pace, the new growth, leadership and management podcast featuring Josh Phegan and Dean Mackie. We wanted to peel back the layers on what happens in the world of fast-paced real estate agencies, from new leadership models to the management challenges we all face each day. This is about a new era in the estate agency sector. Rapid changes to business models, service lines, remuneration and growth present the greatest opportunities that we've ever seen. Sit back, get inspired, grow your skills and reimagine what's possible with Fast Pace. Every Friday, wherever you get your podcasts, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Josh Phegan Digital.
Dean, sometimes I walk into a business and I just see an incredible asset that's been completely underplayed. And I see these big data sets and they just look so great. And yet the people in the organisation don't even see it as a strategy, don't even see it as a big opportunity and are off chasing something that's so tiny because actually you haven't really thought about the big data sets that actually sit inside of a business. Now, Dean, when you and I both walk in and we look at, maybe you're buying a business or whether or not you're bringing someone on into your network or you're having a conversation, you always have a look and say, hey, where is the big opportunity or the upside in this asset that's been massively underplayed? And today we're going to go and talk about some of those big data sets. It could be as simple as past clients, might be archive landlords, who knows what it is. But Dean, what are your thoughts about big data sets and what you can do with them to really turn a business on its head and to significantly make traction in any marketplace?
Josh, I'm not sure you're going to be happy with my answers today on this one, but I don't know. I sort of look at this and go, we've got a world where we've got data, which everyone sort of goes, oh, data, yeah, okay. But what is it? I mean, it's extremely large and complex and it's rapidly accumulating data sets that most often people don't know how to use or how to get to it or whatever. It's a bit like, yeah, good, I get it, but how do I get there, right? And so, if we consider, I went to a thing the other day with REA and they're talking about the fact that every single Australian on average has 650,000 data points on them out there at any one given time. Right, and you think, well, 650, and then there are people using advanced technology with analytical methods, with AI and all that sort of stuff, that can extract meaningful insights, right? So they go, okay, what's the, the technology to then take all that data and use methods and algorithms to extract insights, to then target you on your phone or whatever you're doing, to buy or sell or do whatever, right? So at an unconscious level, and the example they put up was, someone who might have not paid a few of their bills,
sure,
and might be thinking about, and so all of a sudden they're looking at refinancing and all these things, and so the 2 or 3 of these triggers get met, and all of a sudden you're getting things marketed towards you to help you do that, but equally it could also be you might get targeted with gambling, right?
Sure.
So it can actually be quite a negative thing. So these data sets are getting crunched all the time by people who have a reason to want to get to a consumer as and when a consumer's got something going on in their life, which is, which makes sense, right? So I think that it comes with a whole range of things, and so, well, if you could correctly use the information that your business is collecting, which is a big if, because a lot of us don't, we've got a lot of disparate and disconnected systems that don't accumulate into one place other than a CRM, and a CRM is really, a pretty manual analog system that an agent uses typically, right? But if you can, it can have a significant impact upon your decision making as it relates to your customers, as to how you create leads, how do you generate other opportunities. So we look at it and go, well, what is there? You've got all these transaction records, there's all these demographics, there's all these, and that's quite structured, so we can probably capture that. But then there's all this world of social media, right? So then you're like, okay, well, how does a real estate agency capture that social media interaction? And there are ways you can do it, but I just don't think a lot of us have got the infrastructure or have made the investment to connect the dots on social media and emails and images that people have looked at and videos that they've watched and all those things. So big data talks about all of that stuff, Josh. It's not just
triggers.
Yeah, what are all the things that you're doing, right? And so you look at it and you go, and then if you take all of that information, sort of whichever way you can take it, and go, well, if I can match that back to my CRM, right, to go, all right, now we know that customer and here's their name and phone number and email address and here's our past relationship with them. That's where big data becomes valuable, right? Because you can then get really specific on how you drive content and interaction and be relevant to the customer as and when the customer wants us to be relevant to them and in real time. So I look at it and go, man, it is big data, and we as an industry have a significant opportunity to learn and grow. And I think that there are some challenges for us, because, if you take your CRM and the social media platforms and all the devices people are using, we go, yeah, great, we actually do have access to that information because we collect a lot of first-party data about people, but putting it all into one place and making it meaningful is the challenge. And so I think that, if we... one of the challenges for our industry is associated with how we capture it, the first-party data, and then how we store it and how we use it. Because you've got to remember, data storage is a big problem too, right? Like, I think it's another thing we talk about, the opportunity, the leads we can create and predictive analysis. But data storage is becoming a massive thing that is off many of our radars around the cybersecurity and the implications of the data we collect. And so I sort of look at it and I go, the data analysis, and then you add in the data analysis skills, we've got a massive shortage there. But I think there are some significant benefits. If we can get our heads around how we bring it together, and we can get improved customer insights that somehow can lead to, new products and lead gen, and, you get increased operational efficiency, you potentially get a competitive advantage if you get it right. Because at the moment, I think that we're sort of seeing that as something that's outside of ourselves, that's unattainable. And if you look at REA and you look at, say, some of the prop tech businesses and CoreLogic and, all these guys, I mean, they're doing a pretty good job at making the space of property valuation a lot easier, for analysing historical data and trends, and consumers can get access to that. They can do all that, right? But And they've also developed some pretty specific products. But for us, I think that the opportunity is how do we get to use that information for really targeted marketing to our customers to deliver, personalised marketing campaigns? How do we target potential buyers more effectively using very specific products? How do we target potential sellers more effectively as they're, online? How do we do all those things so we can take all of the value of all the information that's available to get more predictive, and to predict future trends, to identify areas where there's more opportunities, like who to talk to in your CRM at the right time. I mean, these are the things that I sort of think about, because, I expect that the growth of big data is only going to continue to get bigger, right? And for us in the Australian real estate sector, we've got to realise there's a seismic emerging developments in this area. You've got AI, you've got machine learning, you've got all these things, right? And they're all happening because of the data sets that are available. Our challenge is to work out how we play in this game in a much more effective way.
So I think about a couple of things in my world where I go, we're either trying to build data or we're trying to work the data that we've got. Most agents are in a position that they just love to get new data, but they don't necessarily do anything with the existing data they've already got.
I agree.
I walk into a business and I say, well, what data have we got? Because I want to go and play there first. Because if I can get you some significant traction quickly, get you a couple of open for inspections, get you back to 5 or 6 opens on a Saturday, that will then build the data machine around the buyers, the buyer inquiries, the neighbours, the people are going to walk through that open for inspection. But doing one open on a Saturday or none really slows up how quickly we're going to go and build that database. Once you've got the data, then what do you go and do with it? So I would traditionally say, okay, great. My grandfather in 1973 pulled out an exercise book in the month of, February. He would actually ring everyone who ever bought a property from him. He'd ring everyone who's ever sold a property from him in the month of February, and did that for his whole career. And the benefit was that there's heaps of past client calls that were done. But there's a lot of systems that are broken because we were taught maybe to add like an activity plan or a schedule plan against all of these individuals. And one day you log into the scheduled section of your system and you go, oh my God, there's 485 tasks, and you just stop doing it.
Yeah.
And so great ideas are actually left behind on the floor because they're not executed well now that we're entering a big data world where I might have only had a couple of hundred contacts before. Now I could be meeting a couple hundred people on a Saturday, depending on my area and the volume of transactions.
The opportunity there, though, is used correctly. You can take that couple hundred people, and if you're using data in the most sensible way, it might tell you that out of those 200 people, these 5 are the ones you need to call.
Which is about intent.
It's about intent. Yeah, it's about saying these are the ones that you should call based upon all of the information that's available on their other activities, right? And by the way, you know them, so call them. Because there might be another 195 you don't know who are quite cold to you, but these other 5 you've actually got a relationship with, or someone in your organisation does. So they're the best people for you to call. So that's what I'm trying to get to. We can actually make things much easier for ourselves and be much more relevant and add more value to the customer if we learn how to do this sort of digital upgrade and adapt and grow in this space.
What I've loved is that you're really tight integration where you're having a look about actually understanding triggers of what consumers do. So as an example, Josh goes and buys a copy of a pest and building report. He registers to bid at an auction. He bids at an auction. You realise that he sold his property last weekend and that he needs to buy. that is like all of a sudden we're playing this game, and all of a sudden you just see, all of a sudden I'm over here in the pinball machine, and now you're going down this chute because you're actually somebody's on our buy.
That's right. So if you knew that, and you knew that he's appeared on your list because of that, then you're going to be much more focused on making sure you make that call. You're not going to leave that call to now 3 days' time, right, or in a week's time, or I didn't get to it, I cancelled my prospecting session with myself. So how do we use this, the opportunity that sits with big data to get our businesses operating in a more efficient way, to get us doing more of what we love, right? And there's a massive opportunity here.
The system doesn't know that they turned up at the auction unless you make sure that you've actually registered that or put that through the system to make that happen. They're not aware that necessarily that house sold unless you're actually telling it that. They're not aware that they're buying a copy of the Pest and Building Report unless there's a tight integration, and that's coming back into the CRM, right?
Well, exactly. But I look at it and go, most agents are sending out a newsletter right now, right? And most information they get is X number of people open that newsletter. If you flip it across to the data opportunity, so if you're sending out a newsletter that's fully integrated into a back end that says when Josh goes in and he looks at a particular property, or he does whatever he does with that newsletter, it feeds into the set of data that says this is what he did. Now, when you land on something in there, it then also follows you to see what else you did, right? So then you're starting to pick up all of these triggers. Now, for me, that's incredibly valuable, because if Josh has also then scanned a QR code and then gone into a property's website, and then he, whatever he's done, he's downloaded a building inspection. If all that information becomes available, it gives me such clarity around where Josh is at and what service he needs from us.
And that's that age-old story. Smarter with data, calling people for better reasons, always leads to bigger success.